Welcome once again to the Salalelo program, which is sponsored by the movement in Omaha for racial equity. My name is Ndebele. I'm your host, and off the frame, I have with me representatives of an organization called Sibanye. They will explain what Sibanye is and they will introduce themselves. We will have an informal conversation about things that matter to us as Southern Africans and Africans at large. Particular emphasis will be put on issues that relate to unity, African unity. We believe that as Africans, there's so much we can do to foster African unity. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me, and you can introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Sibanda. I am a mother of two girls. I am 48 years old and very proud to be an African. I love my African culture and to preserve it.
My name is Colin Tumani Mlalas. I'm the current chairman of Sibanye. By profession, I'm a refrigeration and air conditioning technician. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sikiti Nkosilati Mukwanansi. That is my name. I am the organizing secretary of a cultural organization. I'm a teacher by profession.
What do you teach?
I teach mathematics and science.
My name is Begitemba Jele. I'm a lecturer by profession. I teach accounting and business management. I am the current vice chairperson of Sibanye organization, which is a cultural organization which represents the culture of the Ndebeles. We discuss a number of things together as one people.
So, Ndebele people originate in Zimbabwe. Can you just let us understand how you ended up in Botswana? Did you come as a group? Did you come as individuals? And how were you able to find other Ndebele people? And how large is your organization in terms of membership?
Well, according to the history of the Ndebeles originally came from South Africa, where Chaka Zulu and Msilikazi had a fight and ran away going to Zimbabwe, but passed through Botswana and camped at a mountain at a village called Odi. There's a mountain up there where he went up. The Tswanas didn't like him, so they tried to fight with him and he climbed the mountain. He won the war and they left him in that village. And today that village is called Ndebele. So where some of the Ndebele people are staying up to today. But from there, he moved to Zimbabwe, Bulawayo. But looking at us now, we came here differently. We met here in Botswana and formed a group called Sibanye Cultural Society because we wanted to preserve our culture. We knew that we had crossed the border. And when we came here, we found Botswana with their culture. And we realized that us preserving our culture means unity.
In terms of membership, how many members do you have who are active?
At the moment, we have something like 250 members in our group.
So are you just based in Gaborone?
It's all over the country, not based in Gaborone. You can be in Francistown, but still a member of the group. You can be in Kasane, in Maung, but as long as you are in Botswana.
Really, we want to unite all as Ndebeles and teach our kids, our children, in Ndebele culture. We found Botswana here with a very rich culture. This is really what encouraged us. Botswana and their rich culture encouraged us that really we have got ours as well. And why did we leave it behind? We can still continue with it here.
Maybe before we go any further, you might want to tell us about your attire.
Yes, this is an imitation. It's not a real leopard. This is meant for kings and chiefs. But if it's original, an original leopard with its head and everything, that one is reserved for the king and the chiefs. In this case, we want to identify ourselves that we are different from what you are usually seeing. We are Ndebeles. It's not that being a chairman, I'm king because I'm putting on this. No. As you can see, his t-shirt as well. It's also of a leopard print.
I think it's very interesting because your ethnic group is a breakaway from the world famous Shaka Zulu. Silalelo. Silalelo actually is a word that means dinner. And we chose it because that's where Africans used to sit around a fire having dinner and talking and teaching their children folklore and things like that. So that's where the name comes from. By that, maybe you might want to tell us what Sibanye means.
The word Sibanye means we are together. It's unity. Is to be together. So it's our rallying word to bring us all together to celebrate this culture.
Very nice. It's very fitting because at Silalelo, under the directorship of Moore, we are working to improve relations between groups and communication between various groups. And I'm just here wondering if you see any value in this sort of venture. Do you think that there are any opportunities for different tribal groupings to interact? And do you see value in that?
I think there is more than value for us to be united in doing this because we not only focus on the culture side, we also focus on different things. For example, we help each other in terms of bereavements. We put monies together to help the family that needs that money. If someone is in need, let's say my husband, for example, then the cultural society also contributes money to help me get back on my feet. If someone is in need, let's say it's an orphan who is in university and needs to further their studies, or they're just stuck there, they need a laptop or they need something at school. The Sibanye Cultural Society pitches in and contributes some money, buys a laptop or sends the money to the child.
We are trying to unite people irregardless of the borders. We are trying to come together and share whatever we have.
So what purpose do you think unity would serve to the African people? What is its importance?
I think going back to the Ndebele kingdom building principles, unity is going to bring back the self-respect of each ethnic group. Ndebele kingdom building principle is stretching a hand to shake the hand of another person who's building himself there. We respect the people's endeavors to build themselves up. So once all these groups gain their identity, it will be very easy for them to stretch hands and shake hands, and the unity is going to give the African people power, a voice.
Anybody else, Chairman?
Yeah, seeing a light at the end of the tunnel about this unity thing. This will help, as he is saying, many tribes today are at loggerheads because of the borders and because of colonialism, which created animosity between different tribes. This can help these tribes see the need to hold hands and come together. And this could help stop a lot of civil wars which are erupting daily in Africa. We're looking at the DRC, for example. If you take out colonialism out of DRC, that country could be the richest country in the world. And look at them today, because they are being used to see differences in each other. There is no progress in life, and everything is misery to kids, misery to elders, misery to everybody.
Originally, you are from Zimbabwe, right? And Zimbabwe experienced a lot of turmoil and brutality from colonialism. When you see what happened to your people in Zimbabwe, and what happened to other Black people elsewhere where colonialism reared its ugly head, have you ever seen the similarities in the way that colonialism was dished out to Africans?
Maybe I would chip in and say when colonization came into Africa, they found us with our kings, they found us with our chiefs, we're living in peace. What they did when they came, they destroyed our kingdoms. They destroyed our culture, and we were made to follow a culture which we did not know. This is what happened in Zimbabwe. This is what happened in any other African country. We are even trying to say now if we can go back to our culture, but it's difficult because of the political environment. The moment you mention your kingship or you mention how you used to come together, you are now a threat to the power of politicians. Politicians will think you now want to overthrow them with what they call democracy. But we are saying, yes, indeed, it might be a threat to them, but we are saying that's one of the causes of the conflicts which we have now in Africa. And we are at loggerheads. One tribe is fighting another because of that. And when we are looking at how best we can solve it, we still go back to the same colonizers to ask for solutions when they are the ones who disbanded our kingdom. If you were to look at it now, just yesterday, everyone was celebrating the coronation of King Charles. Yes. But when you come to Africa and try to mention kingship, they'll be asking, what is that? This is old-fashioned.
And they call you a tribalist.
They call you a tribalist. Imagine if you had a king here in Africa who has all that diamond and gold around him. What would they say to that king? They would say, no, you can't have your people suffering and all that. But they are worshiping that. And we are saying if we left in that state, maybe we could be better off, because with our kings, with our chiefs, now they no longer have power as Ndebele. We used to have our king, but we no longer have it. We know we have the king right now. We have the descendants, they are there. But having them to rule over their people is impossible because of political power. That thing happened in all other countries in Africa. Our history was destroyed. Our kingship was destroyed. We're people without a culture today.
Are you saying you don't have ruling chiefs in the same sense that we have here in Botswana?
We have the ruling chief, but you find that the setup might not be the same as in Botswana right now. Our chiefs don't have power over their land as compared to Botswana. In Zimbabwe, a chief does not have that power like what a chief has here in Botswana. All the land belongs to the state. That's the rule which we inherited from the white men. Right now, you can find a situation where someone comes even next to your crow farm and say, I found gold here. Can you pack your things and go? There's nothing you can do. We just obey. Why? The king is the president. It now goes back to the political administration, which we are saying, yes, it's okay. We understand it, but we are saying for cultural purposes, that's not what we want. We want our culture.
If you had one wish for improving tribal or ethnic relations, what would you do? Or what should the groups themselves do in order to improve relations with differing groups? Even if it's a solution that you may advance to enhance unity efforts among different tribal groupings in Southern Africa, what would it be?
My wish will be to go back to the drawing board and go back to basics. For example, in Ndebele land, we need a king. Our Ndebele land is not a country, it's a kingdom. We wish we could have a king who will liaise with a leader in the neighboring state as well, so that we can have them communicating and dialoguing and uniting the natives. Right now, we have got presidents whom we have given too much power, and they are now bloodthirsty and greedy. those are like puppets of a system that is not ours. We wish we could go back to our system which governs us to stay united, and then that system can unite us with our neighbor.
Okay. Mr. Mkonazi.
My wish would be that our culture is given a fair share in the teaching of social studies in education. In actual fact, every part of the country has its own culture that should be raised. And once we have that ethnic identity, it is possible that we should respect each other from different areas because we know who we are. No one can respect others who doesn't know himself.
Yes, myself, I would say if government would allow our tribal groupings to come together as a tribe, they practice their culture freely. Like Mr. Mdala has already said that it is from our leaders now to be communicating with the next leader. If we could have one king maybe for the vendors to communicating with the king for the Sutus, that could bring unity amongst tribes. But now politicians have failed to unite the tribes. Politicians, they are greedy and they know that in the next 5 years they won't be there. So whatever you are getting, you should get it now. Otherwise, in the next 5 years or 10 years, you might be out. But a king does not think of that because it belongs to the people. Whatever he does in the society, he knows that it has a long standing. When he does something in a community, he knows that it will affect not only the current people, even the people who are yet to come. But today we are talking of a president. Tomorrow morning we can hear that coup has taken him out, being president. The love of the community is not as much as compared to that of the kings. And the kings and the chiefs given more powers for their community. Let's have communities given power to rule in their circles. This is what is happening in the European countries, because those European countries by themselves, the way they divided their nations, those are tribes. And as it is, they are living in unity. Let us be given that recognition. We should be celebrating our culture. No one should interfere on that. Let's go back to the roots and check from there, where did we go wrong?
I think just to summarize what they have said, if we could go back to our kingdoms, a kingdom is more powerful than a political party. A kingdom is there for life. Its interest is the people. Unlike a political party where its interest is its own things. I'll just pick one example that the culture that we have adopted or we've been forced to adopt is due to our culture, our kingdom, our African setup. In Africa, we have been told to adopt into a man marrying a man, which is a taboo in our culture. If a man marries a man, it means there is no multiplication in the human society. It stops there because they both can't give birth to kids. Whereas our culture, even God said, go out there and multiply. How do you multiply if you are a man and married to another man? You can't. And that stops the kingdom to grow. I would rather have a man being a polygamist than have a man marry another man as an African woman. So it's some of these things that if you look at it, it's an injection coming from another society that is injecting our African culture so that we stop growing, we stop expanding, because the more we multiply, they're afraid of what we're going to do.
Thank you. Very powerful responses. Have you ever experienced racism when you were in Zimbabwe growing up? Because I can tell that all of you here were born before the liberation of Zimbabwe. Did you experience it personally, directly? Any racism from the Smith's regime?
Yes, we did. I, for one, grew up in Cholocho, early 70s. For you to go to the shops, there was this area where the white community was staying. you wouldn't go past that place because their dogs knew a black person.
They were trained.
They were trained to attack whatever black passes by. We would go around this aerodrome this way or via the shops the other side, covering maybe 4 or 5 kilometers, whereas you could have done 2 kilometers. You were actually not allowed to pass there because whenever the dogs attacked you, they never used to stop them. It's your fault. Why did you go there? And when we went to Bulawayo had streets and avenues. Pamela Street is where the Indian shops were. Those were our shops. Go further, Woolworths. What? Don't touch that place, you get arrested.
Serious?
Yes, we used to.
That's why Zimbabwe is to go to war to fight that, because like I said, in some places you have to get a pass for you to go there, to be given a pass, and they will search you to say, do you have a pass? If you don't have a pass, you'll be arrested. There were shops for white men, there were schools for white men. Colonization was not good, it was bad.
Did your parents fight in the war at all?
Yes.
I have uncles that fought in the war. Liberation.
And during the liberation struggle, I was one of the youths who used to help the guerrillas to spot danger for them. We used to stay next to the area where there is police, army, this and that. We would risk our lives to go and spy there because now they'd taken everybody it was national service. Once you finish O-level, you go to serve in the army. So we would have our brothers and sisters there. We would go visit them and ask them, where are you patrolling today? And they would tell us. So while we are there, the other one is standing somewhere about a kilometer away, the other one another kilometer. You get the information here, you run. Tell this guy, they are coming for patrol at such and such a time. He runs. And he goes to the guerrillas where they are and tells them, this is how they are coming for the patrols. Because the guys who were doing national service were working for the community.
Even though they were
in the government, they would tell us, guys, we are going to search homes. So if they are there, tell them to go to the other village. We are not going to this village. So this is how we operated during the struggle. And today, it's pathetic to see the same guys who liberated us. If you look at them, they are a sorry sight, especially those that fought for Ndebele and Zipra, for the Ndebele side. And us who were the youths of that time, soon after independence, most of us were hunted to death. And those guys were hunted to death.
That's terrible. So how ethnic relations in Zimbabwe today? What's happening?
Yeah, that's a tough question. It's a very tough one because people have never heard. Yes, there was a need for truth and reconciliation to really discuss that, because as a result of colonization, you will find that even after independence, they continued to be genocide, which happened in Ndebele, where the other ethnic group called Mashonaland was in power, and they did not want, in fact, they say there should not be any Ndebele who remains. And that went to a killing of up to 20,000 people by a black man killing another black man. And obvious, this was because of the colonization. And that wound has not yet healed up to us. When we grew up, we found that it was pronounced. We said there's a Ndebele and there's a Shona. These two are different. But at this level now, you find that there's been a lot of intermarriages. I myself have my nephews who are born of Shona. And people have married each other at some point. People should come together on a table and discuss this issue and have it buried.
We have racism right here. It's there. It's covered. nicely covered that you won't see it. I'm going to talk out of experience. I work in an organization where racism is rife. It's ripe. It's there.
In Botswana.
Yes, in Botswana. I work in a stream of schools. They own a stream of schools where there's both white people and black people working, but the owners are white people. The racism that is there is that you find a PhD holder, black person, earning half of what an unqualified white person earns. Just because they are white, they deserve more than you, even though you are more qualified than they are.
Wow.
So it's there, it's just that it's covered. The sad part of it is that our government officials are involved in this. That's why even if you go out and say something, nobody will listen to you. They will sweep it under the carpet and it dies a natural death.
Okay. Seeing that you are from a different ethnic group than the Tswana people, how has your experience been? Have you felt discriminated against in Botswana?
I'm in business in Botswana. I think to some extent it's 90% fair. Only where they say they want 100% Botswana, which won't be a segregatory. It's trying to promote their own. So that's why I'm saying really, I think it's fair. Not in Botswana. Not in Botswana.
But I always see Botswana being horrible to Zimbabweans on Facebook.
You know what? Racism,
Tribalism,
not racism, sorry. Tribalism is there. I would not cover it. It's there. It exists. Whereby they've even invented a name called Makwerekwere. It's a name given to a foreigner who's in the country. And I believe, like we said, it all came from when we were colonized. Before colonization, all this tribalism was not there. You go to government offices, even if you have all your documents in order, preference will be given to a local. Just because you are not a local, they'll have to think about it, they have to drag on it. And then when they don't find a local who can do it for them, that's when they call you. Okay, come and do this for us. But it's there.
No, we wouldn't say it's there or it's not there because experiences are different. But like my chairman has already said, there are policies, a policy which says citizens first. Everyone needs to protect their own. And when they say citizens first, they will say Botswana first, which is good for the country. We are protecting the citizens. And all this because of the border which was drawn by colonizers. And if that border was not there, maybe we couldn't behave in such. I usually joke with my brothers who work together. We discuss these tribal issues openly. They call me Zimbabwe, they don't even mind. Then I call them Botswana, and some of them I even call them, now we are not in Botswana, we are in Ndebele. Look at your face, it doesn't resemble the Botswana features. It's only that you're lucky to be here when the border was drawn. They call me Zimbabwe, and I accept that, and I love it. So it becomes very sad when people hide and they get into corridors when they want to talk about it. Like you are saying, find bullying in Facebook, in the social network is there. When someone mentions something about Zimbabwe, people start flowing in and saying this and that.
But how does that make you feel?
To me, I usually say I treat this different because people would say when someone says something about you, it should hate you, but at times it will be the truth. When someone says something which is truth about you, you should laugh about it, and but that's how it is. When someone says something, I mean, depending on what people have said, yes, in some cases, it might be something which is not good, yes. But you find that at times, in terms of discussing, in terms of tribes, really, there will be some truth in it. But we wouldn't want to accept it to say someone has said this. So, I mean, to me, really, I've learned to accept it.
Mr. Mkonas.
I think I experienced it when I arrived here. And my solution to it was I easily learn languages. So when I felt it, I thought I am drawing this to myself because of the language I speak. So I quickly changed that and spoke the same language
When you are in Rome,
to as Romans. And then I soon found people who would say, "Oh, so you taught yourself Setswana so that you can cheat us." But then that's when I would say to them, "No, my mom is in Setswana, so I don't have a problem with Setswana." That is one way again that makes things easier for me. In the professional world, it's not personal. But down on the streets, you want accommodation here and there, and you come speaking broken Setswana, you might have a problem there. But if someone has already got some other people who are not local, then it's easy for them to accept you.
So are you saying there's problems with finding accommodation?
I experienced that when I was looking for accommodation in my early years here. That's when there will be a place, but the very moment I speak some broken Setswana there, I'll be told that, well, it was there, but we got this cousin of ours, he's taken it. And then you leave, you find the place is still empty for 2 more weeks. Then you know exactly what it was my broken Setswana.
Yeah, the three of you, you just look like ordinary Batswana. The fact that you look just like me, does it help you in any way?
Yeah,
It does a lot. I've been here for 27. This is my 27th year.
Wow.
If I don't tell people that I'm not a Motswana, I just pass through anyway. Yeah. Wherever there's a door open, there are times when I'm allowed to sign documents as a local until I say, then they say, but how do you look like us? It does. It's an advantage in a way.
So do you find that you had to learn Setswana in order to blend in and survive?
Not with me.
I have to.
I learned Setswana because I was fascinated with the language, with the people, with the culture. I came here when there was no racism at all. There was no tribalism. There was nothing. Actually, Botswana loved seeing a foreigner by then. In the early 90s, they enjoyed being around a foreigner. They wanted to know where you're coming from, what's your tribe, what are you eating there? Do you have donkeys like we do? Do you have goats? What type of meat do you eat? They were just curious people wanting to know more about you.
What would you wish to see happen in order for us to achieve unity as Africans? You can give me 1 or 2 things that you wish you could see that can start us on the journey to attaining unity as Africans.
eliminate borders.
To love one another. If we were to eliminate borders and say, guys, we are all the same, we have a central controlling system, and we will be forced to love each other because we would know to say, if Mtswana is in Zimbabwe, it's there to stay. That's one thing to do to allow ease in crossing borders.
I think the celebration of the different cultures, like if there's a cultural day, all cultures should be represented there and showcase the uniqueness of their cultures, the dress. Like right now, I can identify a Moherero lady as she passes by, that's a Moherero. If I could dress like this every day, not only for celebrations, if I can dress like this at any time and not threaten people by my appearance, that would be wonderful. It should not be threatening to anyone when Zulu just passes by dressed like a Zulu.
At one stage, people proposed that Swahili be taught in all African schools so that we can speak in one common language. I wish that could come. I'm not advocating for Swahili, but whatever language that will be easy to learn for everyone in Africa, then we can speak in one language.
Do you think Africans can achieve unity and fight racism as a united force? Do you think it's feasible?
I think it's feasible. They have got a common history. They have suffered the same things from the same kind.
I think one thing which is lacking is education. I've discovered that, especially I think in Botswana, the way history is being taught, it doesn't go deeper. Let us be taught of our history. We should know where we come from. We should know, if we have been taught, we would know that we are all one, we are the same thing. And that would now come back to his point of saying, let's have one language, and then maybe make it easy to cross in the borders.
Okay, what do you think of the xenophobic attacks in South Africa against other nationals? And I know that people from Zimbabwe have been victims.
Xenophobic attacks, the attackers, what they are doing is wrong. Even the fact that we have crossed the border, we are in someone's land, we don't deserve to be attacked. If we all sing to say Botswana is for Botswana, and then we don't accept foreigners, at the end of the day, that's when we are going to ignite the xenophobic attacks. But we are saying that's not good. Unfortunately, that's what maybe people have been taught to say that's how they should solve their problems, up to the level of killing another person. That one, we really won't support it. Even if it was in Zimbabwe, I couldn't kill someone for being a Zambian. That is not good. We wouldn't accept it.
I personally look at this issue in two ways. When you are in a foreign land, try and follow the rules and regulations to the book. The host might never even realize that you are a foreigner. Even here in Botswana, petty majority of them as foreigners. South Africa, what triggers all that? It's crime. And when they discover who is selling drugs to the South Africans, a foreigner. Who is pickpocketing the most? A foreigner. Who is doing most wrong? A foreigner. Then that will trigger xenophobic attacks. If we were to say all foreigners, like Nigerians, stop extorting people's money, stop selling drugs, stop doing all these things which are all out of line. You know, people will live with you next door and they won't even realize you are a foreigner. To Zimbabweans, stop stealing. They will live with you, work hard for your money, and eat it wisely. No one will hate you.
If you had to check the reasons why there are xenophobic attacks, it's because Zimbabweans have left their country. There's nothing in numbers. They are looking for something to feed their families, and they know that if they go next door, they'll get something better. But look at what our leaders will be doing, then it becomes another challenge. Instead of them saying, guys, let's sit down, let's solve this problem, you find maybe they are supporting only the leaders. When you cry to say there are problems at home, they say, stop crying, there are no problems, we know.
Do you think that there can ever be a reconciliation between the Shona and the Ndebele people?
There should be a truth and reconciliation to discuss the issues which happened the period between 1980 and 87, where there was Gukuraundi, where there was a killing of Ndebeles, not just by the Shonas, but by the government during that time. You can't blame all the Shonas for that.
So how does it feel to be a minority from Zimbabwe?
Sure.
It's hurting because even the history has been distorted. The history of our ancestors has been written wrongly. The history of the liberation has been written wrongly. The history after liberation, the Gukuraundi, has been written wrongly. So it needs truth and reconciliation must be said. And I feel if the perpetrators were to go to prison, unity can prevail in Zimbabwe. And the marginalization he's talking about is continuing. So their kids also, their young generation is continuing the Gukuraundi unknowingly because they think it's systematic, it must never be in power. That's marginalization, that's Gukuraundi, that's really painful.
That is why we are saying they should come out clean, openly, publicly, to say, as the Shona people, this is what we did to the Ndebele people. And we are here today to apologize to the Ndebele people. The reason why they should say that is because the new generation that is coming now does not know what happened. They don't have a clue.
can we just have a minute each, discuss what you may have seen in your childhood during the Gugurahunde?
Okay, during Guraundi, they were targeting some people. They could come and kill maybe even the whole family, and then they could come maybe take the father and go and kill your father. And I mean, there were a lot of things which happened. Yes, some witnessed the killings, some witnessed the torture. There was a time when my parents had to run away and leave us. They could not run with us. So one time when the helicopter sound was heard, they had to open the door of the kitchen, put me in a sack, and open the door so that when they come, they realize there's no one in the house. When I was at the back door, then my sister was put by the center of the yard. There was a very big dish. It was put underneath, then they closed the dish. Then they themselves ran away. Then the helicopter came, the soldiers, lucky enough, they could not find anyone. Then they passed through. Then it was...
So you heard them coming into your house?
Yes.
What were they saying?
No, they were searching. They were searching.
I mean, you didn't hear anybody say anything?
No, I didn't hear that. But also, I was a bit young by that time. I think I was how much? 6, 7 years old, somewhere. 7, 8 years old.
Were you not terrified?
Obviously, no, we knew. We now knew about it, that we are, if it's something that you now know, that you are always supposed to be hiding. Even when you are hiding, you can't be terrified. You know that I'm saving myself. So that's what happened during that time.
What did your parents tell you about the whole situation? Not about the particular incident, but did your parents tell you in advance how to survive an attack or something like that?
It was now something which is known to say, if there is this, you should start hiding. That's what we now know to say. They would take our sisters, some of our sisters were raped. They would take them into the bush, rape them. We've got situations. I've got my sisters and cousins. Up to now, they don't have children. So bad.
That's painful.
I was 18 when that started. So we were the target. Mainly the youth and freedom fighters were the targets. In our area, they came and collected youth. That day we had run. Those who were found, let's say in a drinking hall or whatever, they were collected and taken to a deep area where the cows dip. Imagine lining up a line of boys. I think they were saying they were about 27 or so, and 10 gunmen blindfolding themselves, putting their guns on automatic and firing on those boys standing. Today you sleep with him, tomorrow he's dead. And you see him in the street, you can't help, because we were not allowed to bury them. Some were eaten by dogs. You know, those dogs, those days were fat. They became fat and became arrogant. We started killing them. At one stage, we almost had no dogs in the area. Then we walked to town. Some of us walked over 100 kilometers to town. Town was bad. Rural areas, you could not sleep. We could not sleep at home. We were sleeping in the fields. And in the fields, when you are trying to get some meat, you were born to eat, because there was nothing else to eat. Mahapu were not yet ready. It started in around January. It mustn't have smoke, because if they see the smoke, they will come. So, when it starts making smoke, you make sure if you put a wrong fire, that will make smoke. Extinguish it quickly.
The part that I remember, I was still a toddler by then. There was one man, it was a traditional gathering for Mohwe. They did all the traditional things. So Mohwe was left there at home to stay the night with his new wife. It was around 6 in the evening. So everybody went to their homes, and Mohwe was not allowed to sit with everybody else. So I don't know. I think these soldiers left their helicopter somewhere far, because no one knew they were coming. No one saw them. We just saw them. They were there. All of a sudden, they were all over the place, kicking things. When their target in the Ndebele community was men.
Yeah.
They knew that if we wipe away the men, then our men will come take over the women. Then it means the Ndebele is done for. So they came here and they found Mohwe in that room alone. And so they just said, no, you are one of those needed people. You are hiding here and all that. And he was killed there. That was the first time I had a gun. I can't forget that sound of that gun. He was innocently sitting there waiting for it was going to be his first night with his bride. They killed him. The second incident I remember is when we were cooking dinner as well. It was around 6 that same week. The pot was by the fire. My mother was cooking. When all of a sudden, I heard my father say, "Run, run." We all ran in different directions. I was the youngest. My mother grabbed me and ran with me. We found in the bushes, there's these animals that dig and they have accommodation under. We went in there. We went in there and the ant bear was in there. We slept with it the whole night inside that hole. So being a minority group is not a nice experience. When you don't know whether you'll see tomorrow, or you'll see your siblings tomorrow, or you will see your father tomorrow, you just don't know what will happen tomorrow.
It's very painful. Mr. Mukadzi, do you want to end?
Yes, I was in town, I was young, then I think I was in standard 3 then. We were hearing things, we were seeing pictures of people with lips cut off on the newspapers, people's hands chopped off, people whom my parents knew personally. We happened to be in town because of some problems that we had in the rural areas. That is how we survived the genocide, because we were not there. So what I experienced of it is a day when an aunt of mine came to Bulawayo, 152 kilometers away from my home. They had walked for, I think it was 3 or 4 days. Their feet were swollen, they were hungry, and you could see fear in their eyes because the village had been attacked and many people had been killed there. It was my aunt and the 3 kids. The other 2 children, I don't even know where she had picked them up. But on the way, when a parent was moving with their own children and saw a child who had no one looking after her, she just picked them up. And so we didn't have accommodation to spare. But when they had come and they were telling their horrible stories, we put up with them. We were a family of 5, and we had these 7 people joining us and sharing everything with them and sharing the horrible stories that they came with. The fear, I still remember the fear from their eyes and the stories that made them shed tears. I did not hear a gun being shot, but I saw the fear in other people's eyes and the fear for their own lives. So that is my experience with that.
These are very heart-wrenching, but that's how we conclude our program today. We are pining after reconciliation and ultimately unity of African people, both in the African continent and in the diaspora. That is what these conversations are gearing towards. We want to be able to reach as many groups in whatever format that the Africans may have molded themselves into, so that we can forgive each other and be able to move on. Your stories are very heart-wrenching. I don't know how I'm supposed to process all that. It's very sad. But anyway, that's how we conclude our program. Thank you very much for visiting us in Mankodi and being part of this discussion. May you and your organization grow to be more effective in whatever venture you are following. Thank you very much.
Thank you.